Mr. Nook, why do you have your... Is that a crystal ball?
Yes. It's, it was something that I, took from home when we stopped by. I found that my abilities are a bit, under the weather. I was able to reach out to Daggy, tell her that I'm fine and that we're trying to stop my brother, and, I reached out to Flattery and let him know that I'm alive and that I would very much like it if he watched over Daggy. Also, I feel that it is still my obligation to tell stories to those who listen. And I could think of no better story than the one I'm about to tell.
What story is that?
It's the story of my brother, the Dick Kerr. You see, Vulcan, I've always told you I'm as old as time, and I'm an immortal being, but I've not told you everything about my life. Let's put it this way. My brother Kerr, the Dick, will be something that I will have to deal with, and I am going to deal with. For you see, I am on my way to meet up with someone that hopefully will be able to get us where we need to go. I told you we were going to meet Mr. Lysmith in the cul-de-sac. That is not true. That is not true. We are not meeting with him. We are meeting up with another. One that has eyes everywhere. One that I know has been watching our friends the Night Sky Syndicate as much as I've been telling stories about them. As I said, I hope a lot of the things they say about him are lies. Anyways, so, here we go. The story of my brother, Kerr, the Deke. Our story begins at the very, very beginning of all things. In fact, before the beginning of all things. Yes, you see, back before the beginning, there was nothing except for Kerr, and Kerr liked it quite a bit like that, in fact. You see, the world itself, all worlds itself, all of existence itself, there was nothing before. Now, a lot of you are going, well, but then where did Kerr come from? Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows. Nobody knows why Kerr was at the very beginning. He's not a creator god or anything like that. He's not even a god himself. He's god adjacent, like myself. But he was born in the darkness, in the nothing. And when he finally took his role as Lord and Master of everything before, that's when one other being was created. Me. You see, I was created. I don't know why or who. In fact, that's one of the things I'd love to find out one day. I've come across many things that tell me what it could be, who it could be, but nothing that's concrete. So, I continue. Now, when I was created, the first thing I remember is blackness. Nothing. I could not see anything, except for in the distance, a shape that moved. A shape that seemed like it swam through nothing. That was my brother, Kerr, the Deke. he himself, when he found me, bit into my flesh and tried to kill me. But you see, you cannot kill immortals, unless of course you have something special. Now, my brother Kerr, the Dick, he, after he ravaged me, threw me into the void, and there I reassembled myself, slowly, for I did not know I could do so. But I did. I reformed myself, and once I was whole again, I learned to hide myself from Kerr, the Dick. When he would find me, he would ravage me, but there were times that I was able to hide and learn new things. Then, one day, a being appeared. Now, we did not know who this being was originally. We did not know the significance of this being. And in fact, for a very long time I thought that maybe they were actually the first. But after speaking with them for a little bit, I found out that they were indeed like myself. They did not know where they came from, but they did know that they had the power of creation. Now, you see, not everybody can create. They can make things, but they cannot create them. No. Myself, my whole specialization is keeping records, keeping books, keeping stories, keeping imaginations. And so, my abilities, though normally I'm very, very strong, I am no match for my brother, the Duke. And my brother was no match for this being. But this being was a being of creation, and my brother was a being of destruction. And so, these two had words, and I helped the being of a creation, and together we were able to bring about new things. Now, the fight between the three of us was very, very long. Time was not invented yet, so we did not know how long, but it was very long. And so we fought. And from Kerr, and from this being of creation, and even from myself, bits of magic entered the void. Now, the bits of creation became motes of light and life, motes of destruction became creatures of evil and malice, and the things that spilled from me were things of artistry, imagination. Now, alone these beings were ineffectual with anybody, so I looked to the being of creation, and we decided to mix all three. And that's how we got the first gods. Now, these gods were not like Kerr, or the Dick, or the being of creation, or myself. They were actual gods. They were beings of an entire spectrum of what they were. Some of the gods were just like the being of creation, beings of law and goodness, the beings of destruction, a lot of those who had mostly destructive energies inside them. Still, even though they had that, still had bits of creation and imagination in themselves. Now, many of these became evil beings, evil gods, but others did not. They became neutral. Now, that's when a lot of the beings who had almost equal or close to equal creation and destruction in them became the true neutral gods. Now, they did not have races at the time, so some of the gods that are meant to appear as elves or dwarves or what have you, they came a little later. These beings were beings of pure power. And so, I, being who I am, those who had the imagination, they started to create their own pantheons, their own legends, and those who were created with primarily imagination and creation became ones who made things like the Feywild and many other areas of extreme thought. Others became places like, well, Limbo, where the chaos reigns. But everything was sprinkled about, and soon we had what is known as the multiverse. I know, Vulcan, I know. You know of the multiverse. You actually come from a universe where that's very different from the one that you are currently in. And I know that is a choice of yours. But it's okay. Don't worry. I won't tell people where you're from. But know that your people were created as well in the multiverse. That's why I'm able to say I've known many different people, and many different people know me. So, if you ever see someone who acts like me and walks around like me, but does not look like me, it's probably me in a different form. Just making sure that I am around. So, now, Kerr did not like this in one bit. He enjoyed having nothing to be in. But now that things were here, he focused his attunement to those that were filled with his powers of destruction. We later come to know them as the chromatic dragons. These beings did not trust each other. In fact, one of them, Tiamat, they did not see eye to eye with the others. But still, when it came to the fight, came to the war, she fought against the signs of creation and imagination. Most that were part of creation became the metallic dragons. Now, these two, as you know, most chromatic dragons are of the type of being very mean people. And a lot of metallic dragons are seen on the side of law or neutral. But the thing is, though, a true being is not their species. They are what's inside themselves. That's why when people say, "Oh, aren't all goblins evil?" No, they're not. A people cannot be evil. A person can be evil. Hobgoblins are not evil, but there are some hobgoblins who are. There are many humans that are evil, many elves that are evil, many dwarves that are evil. Every race can be capable of good and evil. And many who are good and try to uplift themselves from others, they are overshadowed by the incorrect stigma that other races give them. Now, once the universes had been created, the crystal spheres in the prime material plane, as we call it, but it's not the prime universe, but you know what I mean, material plane we are currently in. Kerr, the Dick, had decided he was going to use his new army of chromatic dragons and dragon gods to basically destroy everything and get it back to the way it was. Now, I myself had regained many levels of magic and power, more than I'd ever had before then. And when the gods came, they asked me to research and see what could kill an immortal being, a true immortal being, like Kerr and myself. Being a being of imagination and knowledge, I knew exactly what could kill us. There's many things, but to truly kill an immortal, one that's been given power to come back, like yourself, my friend, basically comes from the power of one giving up godhood and infusing it into something. At the time, I told them I was willing to give up my life to destroy Kerr, my brother, the Dick. But they told me, no, Nook, we need you. You stay. You are a being of knowledge and imagination. You are not a god. You are something more. And so you must stay behind the lines. For if our war against Kerr does not go through, then it'll be up to you to find a way. I said, there is a way. I could go and fight him. He has tried to kill you multiple times. And I said, yes. However, a creature of destruction, though it may destroy, will not kill an immortal being. And they said, well, then how can you do it? And I said, because I know the limits of our powers. I know the things that should never be known. Still, they did not allow me to fight. Which, if I did fight, I probably would have died, but I would have taken Kerr with me, and none of this would ever happen. I mean, who knows? I mean, the spheres might be the same. They may be entirely different. You, my friend Vulcan, you might not even exist. Your father would more than likely not exist. But there are people out there that are constants in all realities, all universes, all timelines. You heard me when I told Flannery that several people on their ship are constants, and in fact, most of the main crew, the Night Sky Syndicate, are constants in all timelines. However, even though they are constant, does not mean that they are the same person. Of course, they are still there, but not the same. Some realities are very close, some realities are not, but many are. Anyways, as I was continuing, so my brother, Kerr, the Dick, had rallied his people, and the gods of creation and imagination had rallied their people. The battle was enormous, so much so that things that were destroyed amongst that war will never be seen again. There were terrible things. Kerr, the Dick, used every trick he knew, but he did not know all the tricks. Myself, I was an advisor. I did not want to be. I wanted to be there and stop my brother the Dick. But apparently they said I could not. So I gave them information. If we could not kill Kerr, using myself, then we could seal him away Now, you all know that Kerr himself was sealed away by a goddess who gave up her powers to seal him between realms, between worlds, between dimensions. So, basically in nothing. To the point that the name of the place, the Abyss, was used for another place in the spheres and the planes. My brother, I did go to the battlefield. I went to the battlefield and I went to my brother. Open-handed. And I said, I know you are destruction incarnate, my brother. But you can be more. Just as I am intellect and imagination, I can be more as well. My brother, give up this madness. Give up this desire to destroy all, because once you have destroyed everything and there is nothing left, then there's nothing left for you to destroy. And he turned to me. At the time he was wearing a shape that looked like a Dragon Ball, with a very long flowing robe, a crown made of some sort of bones on his head, and a very large sword on his back. All of these things forged by his gods and god-adjacent people. He told me, Nook, when I have finished destroying everything, it will go back to the way it was. Back to just you and me in nothing. I will be able to do exactly what I want without the need of whatever is pulling me to do what I'm doing. I don't know what he means by this. I didn't know then, and I don't know now. But I left his encampment. The other gods that were there tried to stop me, but they saw my brother raise his hand and told them, that is Nook. He is to be not touched. If you touch him, I will make sure that no one will ever know your name. One being tried. I don't know their name. Their name will never be known. I went back. I advised them of what Kerr told me. They told me that they had a plan, but since Kerr wanted me alive, me fighting him wouldn't do nothing. So, they asked me to forge something that could kill Kerr, or kill myself. I asked them why myself as well, and they said, because you are his brother. You may want to save him. And if we need an insurance policy to make sure you do not back him, then we will have to make sure we have it in the form of the other sword. This is why the swords are swords. I was going to make them into like little what else thing? The little pop things that the people of the British, I think it's called the British Isles, during the time of Christmas, Vulcan, before you say anything, I know you have a type of a celebration like that, right? But we won't say it because, of course, there may be copyrights, and I do not want to deal with that because I've dealt with that. The god of copyrights is a dick. You didn't know there was a god of copyrights. There is a god of copyrights. He's a dick. Anyways, so I went to a god of the forge, one that was even more powerful than Morden or Hephaestus or any of the others. He asked me, "Look, if I do this, what will happen to me and my followers?" And I told him, "Your followers will still be there. However, you will not have your godhood. I am sorry." He took my hand, clasped it, and held it. And he said, "You are willing to give up your own life, just so the rest of us will survive. What kind of being would I be if I wasn't willing to give up a measly godhood to save all of creation?" If you are ever wondering who that was, his name lives on. You may have heard it many times. You may have wondered what that word meant. And once I tell you this word, it will slip from your mind, and you will never remember it. In fact, I've just said it 5 different times, and you have not heard it once. Have you, Vulcan?
No, sir. What name was it?
I have repeated it 5 times to you.
I still haven't heard it, sir.
And that is the nature of that name. They deserve so much more. They gave up so much. At the same time, they were able to gain something that no god has ever been able to do. Live a normal, mortal life. He created the swords of immense power. He looked to me, and he said, with the last smash of my hammer upon my anvil, I give it life. And so the swords came to be. Their minds were simple then. In fact, they did not know how to actually speak. I taught them. It did not take long. For speaking is one of the things that many people can do, many species of animal can do. It's more or less what you do with what you say. But that's a totally different thing. Kerr, during this time, had continued his advance. He had killed multiple gods, multiple beings of immense power. Now you probably wonder, what happened to the goddess, or god, of creation? That's the thing. The god of creation, once the war started, they ceased to be. Now I do not mean they died, I mean they moved on. I don't know where they went, for I have traveled most of the universes out there, but I have not seen where they went. My hope is that they are beyond all universes, to a place that they can have just creation. without destruction. Though even that is something that should not be wished upon. For creation without something to bring it back to one can be rampant. My brother, Kerr the Dick, made a final stand. He used all of his forces and rushed what would be considered the camp of those of creation and imagination. They fought bravely. But in the end it was one new god, or goddess, who made the final sacrifice. While two gods were holding off Tiamat and another, three more went up to attack Kerr himself. Now, this would normally be a death sentence, but these courageous beings made it their last stand. The goddess was the one who was able to grab a hold of him around the neck. Kerr tried to fight her off, but doing what she did, she gave up every ounce of her power, and she was a very powerful being. And she used that to create a hole back to the nothing. And there she pulled him. And once he was gone, Kerr was no more. I showed up much later with the swords, and when I witnessed what I had, I realized I should have done what I knew should have been done. I should have fought my brother. But even myself cannot go back and stop things like that. Time is something that is very messy when you play around with it. I know Nisiki knows all about that. Kerr had a backup. Evil always does. He knew of a way to escape any prison, or to come back from nearly any death. And this one was very easy to sniff out. I myself advised the gods that we needed to hide what was left of Kerr. They asked why we could not just destroy it. I said, look what we have done. We have used the power of her and then used it to create a way back to the nothing. Anyone else that would be seen like normal and good, for it gave Kerr what he wanted. But no one knew my brother like I did. Even if he had what he wanted. Back to being the only being. The knowledge that there were others would drive him insane. So, I advised them to take pieces of Kerr that he had personally removed from himself and spread them between the different realms, the different universes, to hide them so no one who knew of my brother or came across a bit of him would never be able to bring him back. Since that day, I had been taking care of the swords. Swift Beginnings was very, very adamant about wanting to be used, and I advised him that his story was over. My brother Kerr was gone. Swift Beginnings, I actually called him Slow Beginnings because he was very reluctant, for he knew once he had done what he was made for, there'd be nothing left for him to do other than just rust. So, these two were held by me for a very long time. It wasn't until one day I was greeted by a young adventurer who came to my home, totally by accident. In fact, at the time I lived in an area that was so remote and so well hidden that only someone who was drawn to the sword could have taken it. They appeared outside of my home, and I saw them there, and I thought, who are they? I knew who they were. They came in. I asked them, who may you be to enter my home? The child, for they were indeed a child, said to me, my name is Solomon, and I am here to find a treasure to stop a great evil. I said, Solomon. Now those of you who are wondering if this is Solomon the Wise from that one universe that has all that crazy shit going on right now, I mean, I believe even like an offspring of the Orange Bastard lives there in some land called America. I hope that's not true, but it's not the same Solomon. No, this was a different Solomon. I said, Solomon, how did you find my home? And he said, I was called, sir. I was called by the one that is on your mantle. And he pointed to Swift Beginnings. And I told him, young man, that sword should never be used. And he said, but I need it to save my people. There's a being of immense strength and power. Everyone has tried to kill it, but it always comes back. Now, I knew of this creature. It was an offspring of one of the gods of old. They did not know they were an offspring. And in fact, they were several thousand-year generations between. But they had gained immortality, true immortality. And when they learned they could not die, they used it for gains. And so, the reign of terror continued. Now you're wondering, why didn't I interfere? I knew of the sword and its powers. Swift beginning, it's going to be swift end, 1 and 2. Really go out there and do it, but after the battle, I swore I would not interfere, as I did. In fact, I locked away a lot of my power. I felt I was not worthy. The young man told me, if you do not help me, everyone in my village will die. I was still callous then, and I said, young man, one village is hardly anything in the scale of time and space. The young man walked up to me. Why do you do nothing? I told him, I have the responsibility of knowledge. I know if you take the sword, you will defeat the evil. But new evil will come. If not from your generations after, but generations after. What point would it have? He placed his hands on mine, and he said, I want to do good. And when I looked him in the eyes, I saw there was good there. I turned to Swift Ends and said, if I send you out with this young boy, you must hide yourself so no one can take him. And Swift Ends said, I have the perfect way, sir. And when the boy took Swift Ends into his hand, it turned into a mark on his arm. Swift Ends then came back out and said, this way, if I am dropped in battle, and you are using me for the correct way, then I will return to you. No one else but you, or those who are worthy, will hold me in their hands. That made me feel a little bit better. Not by much. The boy then said, may I have that other sword as well? And I looked at the young man, and though there was good there was a sense of greed. And I told him, no, you may not. Now go. Do the good you wish to do. Remember, if you do evil with Swift End, you may lose him. I kept track of the sword. It's my job, as well as, of course, stories and information and imagination. Several people beyond him carried the sword. Not one used it for evil. The last one who took the sword was a young lady. She had been chosen, the last in a great line of paladins. She herself was not a paladin. In fact, she did not believe she was anybody of note, but she could hear the sword. And she found it, laying next to its previous owner, a man who had died at the hands of another. Not only was it at the hands of another, it was the hands of his own brother. The brother could not pick up the sword, and so he died to his brother. And his brother who died would not dare use the sword to kill his brother. She lifted it, and it accepted her, and the two did wonderfully good things. When she finally passed away, she handed the sword to a friend, but she told the friend, you may not use the sword. He will not let you use the sword. So, she kept it. And we know where that turned up. He likes to get where he wants to be, and he would not have been there if he did not believe that Teros would have been a good wielder. But now I said this was a story of Kerr, my brother the Dick. You see, he had time in the nothing, and we were not as thorough as I thought we were in collecting all the pieces. So, some of his cultists were able to divinate channels into the nothing and speak with the Dick. And there they learned of how to bring him back. If all of those pieces are collected, and he is brought back by someone he has offered a great boon to. As we all know, Twinki Kitty asked for the ability of flight and, of course, for his entire race to get their voices back. Something that was taken from them. I did not believe that was a good thing to do, but, some gods, they overreact. So, yes. So with that, the Twinki Kitty's been given information on how to traverse universes, as I do. Find different timelines where different people he needs will appear. As you all know, he's taken Hermes, his son, Svert, and Westang, Niki and Flannery's son, and he has twisted their minds. However, they still do have a chance. You see, the one thing that my brother Kurt could never truly understand is the feeling of love and loyalty. Svert and Mustang have created a bond. And with that, and with the love that Flannery had shown, Flannery, Niki, Rudy, Ozzy, all of the Night Sky Syndicate that showed him, realized that he could be more. And when he told his brother, Svert couldn't believe it, until he too saw the other hymns, the constants, where he had budded, became the son of Hermes, and lived out a life of happiness. Now, of course, there were pitfalls, as there are for everything, but mostly a good life. They're currently trying to escape. I don't know if they'll make it, thanks to the incursion of my brother. Things have gotten a bit wonky. Have you heard of the Book of Fate? Yes, sir. You've told me that it's blank. Yes, that's what I tell everybody. I tell that because, honestly, if people knew what they're fated to do, the joys of life would be gone. I met a young woman who was a diviner, someone who could see the future perfectly, but only the good. And she had a sister who was also a diviner, who could see the future as well, just as good, but only the bad things she could see. Now you're probably thinking, Well, if you see only the good things and only the bad things, well, one's going to be extremely happy and the other one's going to be extremely pissed off. Well, that's mostly true, but you would not guess who was what. For you see, the one who could see everything good became disillusioned with life. And the one that could see everything bad saw the little joys in life. The one that could see everything good already knew that the hero won the day, what they were getting as a birthday present, and what that mystery flavor was in her drink. The one that could see only bad could see herself falling down the stairs, stubbing her toe in the middle of the night, or eating a sandwich that had just something in it that turned her stomach and caused him to vomit. However, they held on to the taste of the sandwich, the feeling of those around them who came to their aid when they fell, told them words of encouragement and love. The Book of Fate is written. Cannot be seen by anybody but myself. That's why when everybody else looks at it, it is blank. There's only 2 people in the book that are not listed. You could probably guess who they are. Yes, that's Kerr, the Dick, and myself.
Are you alright? Do you want to stop?
It's okay. It's okay, my dear friend. It's just... I wish, honestly, if I could, now that I know I will be a father, if I will be able to live a good, normal life with my family. I truly hope so. No, I have not read their fates. I don't read the book. How do I know I'm not in there? Because it has the start of all our lives there. All of our lives. And they all start with once upon a time. Why do you think most stories start with that? But you're right, my dear friend. We should be getting some rest. Tomorrow we will find a man who will help us get a portal to Twinki Kitty's lair. Well, there's only one person who can get us there because they have a connection there. Or this clan is there. To those of you who I'm speaking to right now, through my crystal ball, remember, tomorrow is not written for you or for me. There could be trials and tribulations, or there could be boons and presents. The best thing is to be excited when it happens. Vulcan, let's go to sleep. My stitches I feel like they will burst. I think rest will do us good. Yes. Good night, my friend. Good night.